I am Bob DeStefano from SVM Industrial Marketing. And for 30 years, I've been in the trenches with industrial companies like yours, helping marketing and sales teams navigate every big shift. Innovations in trade show engagement, websites, search engine marketing, social selling, you name it. We've adapted those strategies together. But what's happening right now, this is different. AI isn't just another tactic or tool. It's fundamentally changing how buyers make decisions today. And if you're like most companies I talk to, your sales team may be hustling harder than ever, but the results just don't quite match the effort anymore. And it's not because your team's failing, it's because the entire game has changed. So in this masterclass, what I'm going to do is unpack exactly what shifted, why the old playbook isn't cutting it anymore, and how the smartest industrial sales leaders are flipping this disruption into a competitive advantage. By the time we're done, you will have a clear three-part framework and a 30-day action plan to make sure your sales team stays visible, trusted, and in the conversation when it matters most. And as we go along, please feel free to drop your questions in the Q&A box. I'm going to save time at the end so that we can address those live. And without further ado, let's dig in. So let's talk about what I call the silent sales crisis. Now, you might be seeing signs of this already, and I want to tell you that if you are, this is really going to hit home. Your best salespeople, the ones who've carried your company for years, they can't reach decision makers the way they used to. The same prospects who always picked up the phone and took their calls, now everything's going to voicemail. And the gut punch is less than 2% of cold calls now are resulting in a real conversation. So think about that. Your sales team has to make hundreds of dials just to talk to actual real prospects. And it's not because your sales team forgot how to sell, it's because the game has shifted under their feet. And the pipeline, your pipeline of new business, on paper, your CRM may look full. Calls are logged, emails are sent, meetings are booked, but when you pull up the qualified opportunities, something just doesn't add up. It may feel thinner, and you just can't make sense of it. And here's the part that keeps sales leaders up at night. Competitors who you barely know are now closing deals in your backyard. Customers are making decisions without ever giving you a shot. You never even know the opportunity existed in the first place. So here's what's really happening. 87% of your buyers now want to handle their research on their own before they even talk to your salespeople. That means only 1 in 8 prospects actually want to hear from you early in the sales process. Now, this isn't a small tweak. It's the biggest shift that we've seen in decades. And for the smartest sales leaders, it's also a tremendous opportunity. So let me show you exactly how we got here, because once you see the pattern, everything you're experiencing in your market will start to make sense. Now, to uncover why this AI shift is so disruptive, you need to see the bigger pattern. And I've been watching 3 major transformations in industrial buying since I started in this business in 1995. And what we're living through now is the most game-changing impact that we're seeing yet. In the 1990s, when I got started, you guys were still in the relationship era, and that's the era that you enjoyed for decades. Sales was purely about personal connections. Your best sales reps built relationships with engineers, plant managers, and purchasing directors, and those personal connections literally won deals. If you had the relationship, you won the business. And sales reps, they were the source for every answer that the buyer had a question for. Information was scarce, so buyers completely depended on salespeople to educate them about their products, pricing, capabilities, and options. Your sales team controlled the entire information flow. But then came the 2000s through the early 2020s, and I call this the digital research era. This was the 20-plus year transformation where buyers discovered that they could start doing research themselves online to find suppliers to work with. They started checking websites, they downloaded spec sheets, they read case studies, they compared options before ever calling sales. But here's the key. They still called sales, and sales still guided their decision-making process with their expertise. So while buyers researched online, they still needed your sales team for guidance, for complex problem solving and decision support. And your sales team remained a valuable resource for them just a little bit later in the process. But now in 2025, we've entered the new era, the AI-driven buyer era, and everything has changed. AI is now the buyer's advisor, providing expert level guidance that used to require multiple sales conversations with your team. Buyers are turning to AI tools like ChatGPT and Google's Gemini to evaluate suppliers, analyze technical specs, compare pricing models, recommend vendors, and create a short list. And the kicker is decisions are made by the buyer before they even speak to your salespeople. And that's why your salespeople are calling on customers they've known for years and finding out that their decision was already made before they got there. Now, this is not an evolution, this is a revolution, and it explains why traditional sales approaches just are not working anymore. So let me pull the curtain back on what I'm seeing every single week when I'm working with manufacturers and distributors. What's happening is big deals are getting decided without their sales team ever knowing they existed. And it's not because they're failing as salespeople. It's because the buyer is making the decision on their own without ever calling them. Buyers are now using AI to do the homework. They're asking AI to research suppliers, compare capabilities, and build that short list before you ever hear from them. And it's like they've even hired their own sales consultant that works for them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you're not even invited to the meetings. And when your sales team does get the call from the prospect, it's not a discovery conversation anymore. This is very important. Now it's a validation call. The buyer already knows what they want, and you just need to walk them through the decision-making process that's already 90% made. So I'm seeing this even with market leaders, the big companies out there. Even though they have decades of trust, strong reputations, they're still getting blindsided. And if it's happening to them, it's happening everywhere. So this is the silent sales crisis. And to really understand why it's happening, let's step back and look at how buying has shifted over the last 30 years. So here's my promise to you. By the end of our time together, you're going to walk away with 4 things that you can use right away. First, like I said, that clear picture of how AI is reshaping the sales landscape and what's really happening. Second, I'm going to give you the 3-part framework that your sales team can use to compete and win in this new environment. And to implement this framework, I'm going to give you a 30-day action plan that includes real steps that you can start implementing immediately. And then finally, you'll see exactly the steps that I recommend that you take that I've seen early adopters profit from, and I want you to profit as well. So with that promise in place, let's get to the heart of it. Okay, so here is the sales reality check. There are some numbers that are telling us about what's happening in industrial sales right now. Well, first, 70% of buyers are completing their sales journey before they ever talk to a salesperson. And that means that most of that decision-making process is made before your team even knows that that opportunity exists. The next trend, this is a tough one. Less than 2% of cold calls are resulting in a real conversation. What that means is that 50 dials are necessary just to get one meaningful exchange. So no wonder it feels like the old playbook just isn't working like it used to. And this last one, this is the huge shift. Over 60% of B2B buyers are now using AI tools like ChatGPT, Claude, Google's Gemini to research and select suppliers. And buyers are using their short lists that they build with these tools before your sales team even knows that they exist. So this is the sales reality check, but also this is a huge opportunity if you act on it the right way. Because if you can adapt to this new buyer behavior, you can beat your competition that's still playing by the old rules. So let's dig in and talk about how the sales journey has been flipped on its head because of AI. Now, this is the heart of what's happening with your team right now. So the traditional sales journey, we had a customer. That customer had a problem, and they decided to reach out to a salesperson to help solve that problem. And the salesperson guided them through the entire thing. The salesperson owned the conversation. They held discovery calls to uncover needs, where they educated them on possible solutions and walked them all the way to the ultimate decision-making process. So sales own the complete timeline. They own the information and they own the relationship. But let's look at today's AI-enabled buyer journey. Buyers are not picking up the phone anymore. Now they're starting with AI. They're not calling salespeople. They're going to AI tools like ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, and Perplexity. And they're using these tools to diagnose their problem, research solutions, and build their short list of possible vendors to work with. AI is creating the evaluation criteria and telling them exactly who they should be calling. So when your salespeople finally get the call, it's not a discovery call anymore. Like I said earlier, it's now a validation call. The buyer's already decided what they want, who they want it from, and what they expect to pay. And your sales reps aren't uncovering needs on these calls. They're confirming decisions that were already made. Like I said before, buyers are making decisions 70% of the way before they speak to a salesperson. So that's why your best salespeople may feel like they're showing up in front of prospects that are already making their decision. They've already decided what they're going to do, and their traditional sales scripts aren't working. The traditional model's not working. And the scary part is that if you're not in that short list that I mentioned, if you're not showing up there, you may never even get that chance to compete. You're invisible during this part of the process. So this shift that I'm talking about, going from discovery calls to validation calls, is exactly why the traditional sales playbooks aren't working anymore. And it's why we need to completely rethink how sales teams compete and win. So I want to break down exactly why this change is happening and what it means for your strategy going forward. So let me show you a few examples of what buyers are actually asking AI and what they're seeing. So this is happening right now. These are some sample questions. They're asking about who are the best material handling suppliers in New Hampshire. So they're looking for the best suppliers in their geographic area. They're asking to compare two suppliers. They're looking for the top-rated products or top-rated manufacturers in particular areas. Notice they're not asking for generic information. They're asking for very specific information. Suppliers, they want to compare competitors. They're asking for the best options. Now let's take a look at the AI response. AI is very different from, say, traditional Google results that people have been looking at for decades. They're not seeing a list of blue links. They're getting the actual answer. If people are typing in those questions, AI is handing them company lists, maps, strengths and weaknesses between companies and between products, exactly how to choose, what is the decision criteria that they should use. So when the buyer finally calls your sales team, they've already gone through this process. They've already decided who they want to consider working with, and your sales team isn't running that discovery call anymore. They're validating the decision, making sure that the buyer understands you made the right decision in calling me. Let me validate that decision for you so I can move you over to that sales finish line. So the only question that matters is when buyers are in your market, AI, these questions, you need to make sure that you are showing up in front of them. Okay, so before we jump into the solutions, I want to hit on something that might be in the back of your mind right now. When I speak with industrial manufacturing and distribution leaders, and I talk about how AI has changed marketing and sales, they tell me, Bob, I want to correct you. Our sales team is solid. They're experienced pros. They've been doing this for decades. They've been crushing their numbers for years. If this AI thing is so disruptive, they're on top of it and they're adapting. They know what to do. But the reality is this: if your salespeople have not been trained properly for this new model, they are up against a situation that they just can't compete in. They need to flip how they're doing. The problem is that all their training, all their success was built on a world where buyers needed a salesperson to provide them with information and guidance and that support. Cold calls, relationship building, consultative selling, it all assumes that the buyer wants to engage with salespeople early in the process. But when a buyer is 70% of the way towards a decision, leveraging AI tools, those old skills lose their power. It's like being the best fax machine salesperson in the world when everyone switched over to email a couple of decades ago. So your sales team is running the right plays, but just for the wrong game. And that's exactly what we're going to fix. So AI is rewriting how prospects choose supplier. And like I said, this is not a new marketing tactic. It's not a new sales tactic. It's a complete shift in the buying process. Your prospects are now getting expert advice before they ever call you. They're asking AI, who are the best suppliers? Who should I look for? How do these companies compare? And here's the part that should make every single sales leader sit up. Buyers are building these short lists and setting expectations without a single conversation with your sales team. So I want to show you exactly how this plays out. So AI sales readiness can be your new competitive advantage. If your sales process wasn't designed for buyers using AI, you're walking into conversations already behind the eight ball. So the reality is, with AI as your buyer's new personal sales consultant that's working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, answering every question, companies that get this are pulling ahead fast. They're winning by changing the conversation so that they are now validating those decisions that the buyer has already made. And AI sales readiness is no longer just a nice to have. It's the new table stakes if you want to compete. Okay, so most industrial sales processes were built for a different type of buyer. We've already established this, and the gap is exactly even why good sales teams are struggling right now. Traditional sales assumes that buyers need education, and the AI-informed buyers are already arriving with that deep knowledge and firm preferences. So the problem is that your sales materials, the materials that your salespeople are working with, the conversations that they're having, the scripts that they're using are still built on that discovery mindset. They're not built on the validation mindset. So you're walking through you're walking buyers through questions that they've already answered themselves, leveraging AI. So closing that gap between those two worlds is the key to stay competitive. So I'm going to show you exactly what this disconnect looks like in real conversations and how you can start closing that gap. So we've talked about the problem, we talked about why it's happening, and even why the best sales teams are feeling the pinch here and why they're not being as effective as they were before. So let's pivot over to the solution. The good news is there is a three-part AI sales framework that you can use to compete and win in this AI-driven sales environment. It's the exact model that early adopters are using to win deals and grow their pipeline. I'm seeing it happen right now. And this is happening even while the competitors are still trying to figure it out. So if you act on the information I'm about to share with you, you will have an early mover advantage. So let's walk through the exact framework. Okay, so here's the framework that pulls everything together. And these three pieces need to work together, and it's essential that all pieces are in place. The first piece is AI visibility. And if you joined me last month, this was the focus of last month's masterclass. We spent a lot of time on this. This is where we are taking the steps to make sure that your company actually shows up in the AI results when buyers are asking AI suppliers. And if you're not visible at this stage, your sales team doesn't even get a shot. So you really need to focus on this first. I'm going to revisit it briefly, but like I said, last month's masterclass went through this in great detail. The second piece, this is AI sales readiness. This is all about preparing your sales team to engage with the AI-informed buyers who are coming into that first call already 70% of the way through the decision-making process. And then finally, AI sales enablement. These are the tools, the content, the process that your salespeople need to win those late-stage conversations. And if you get these three pieces right, that's where you will get the benefit, which is your AI-ready sales advantage, where all three intersect. That's what we're aiming for. That's what gives you that competitive edge. And most teams at your competitors, if they're not acting, won't be able to catch up. So let's spend a little time breaking down each of these so that you know exactly what you need to do to put them to work. Okay, first one is AI visibility. This is where buyers are going to AI, they're going to ChatGPT, they're going to Gemini, they're typing in their sales questions, and they're getting those specific answers when they're looking for suppliers and they're looking for the right solution for their need. There are 5 key moves that you need to make in order to make sure that you are bubbling up in the AI results. First is you need to answer the key buyer questions that AI is scanning for. And these key questions normally revolve around costs of products, comparison between solutions, customer proof. They want to see that this has worked for other companies that are very similar to them. Next, the content that you're creating and publishing needs to be published to your website as well as other online properties, and it needs to be published in a skimmable format that AI can basically index and take advantage of. Both AI and busy buyers need to be able to review this information, parse it quickly, and make sense of it. Third is you need to build digital authority with proof, expertise, and measurable results. So you need to have proof that your solution and your company is the best based on what that buyer is searching on. Fourth, you need to leverage trust signals like reviews and case studies to help communicate that proof. AI weighs all of those signals heavily when recommending suppliers. And then finally, you need to enable self-service research so that buyers can get their answers before they call your salespeople. So as I mentioned, last month's masterclass went through this in great detail. If you're interested in reviewing it again, scan the QR code or go to the link on the screen and you'll be able to take a look at that session. So let's summarize it very quickly in one slide, what we talked about last month. AI visibility, like I said, it's what gives your salespeople a shot at the deal to help you show up. We talked about the big buyer questions. These are the areas that people are searching on most often. These are the questions that are in a buyer's mind early on. So you want to make sure that AI can answer these questions for you on your behalf, so that buyers will want to call you after they go through this research process. And the questions are cost and pricing. What does it cost? Everyone wants to know what the solution will cost. And if you can't give an exact cost, give a range, give criteria that you take into account. Don't hide this information. You need to be very forthcoming with it. What are the possible problems that could exist when they're trying to find a solution for this product or for this problem? What are the downsides of the various solutions that are out there? If there are certain situations where your solution is not the best, talk about it. Buyers will value transparency and honesty. And also, if you're providing transparent, honest answers, you have a better chance of bubbling up. Comparisons. How do you compare to other companies that are out there? How do different products compare to each other? What do customers say? Reviews are very important. What do customers that are in the same position as the buyer, what do they have to say about the possible solutions that are out there? And what did they have the most success with? And then best in class. What's the best choice? So many people, when they are performing a search, will put the word best before the solution that they're looking for because they don't want to waste time. They want to find the best solution for their needs. So these are the questions that you need to be clearly answering in your website's content, as well as the other content that you're publishing on other online outposts. This will help you get recommended by AI. And if AI, like I said before, doesn't recommend you to begin with, your salespeople aren't even going to have a shot. Okay, so now AI sales readiness. We talked about how you're going to bubble up in front of buyers when they're performing research. Now they're 70% of the way through the decision-making process, and your company bubbled up. And they're interested in reaching out and speaking with you. So your salespeople, you don't want them to walk into a conversation that they're not prepared for and go through a discovery process. You need to make sure that they're prepared for that validation discussion, that they understand the buyer has already done their research and they're prepared to guide them through the remaining steps in the decision-making process. So how do you prepare your sales team? We'll train them on how to engage with AI-informed buyers. How do you do this? Start running role plays when the buyer already knows what the pricing is and what are the criteria that make up pricing, who the competitors are, who they're comparing against you, what are the key differentiators between you and other competitors, what are the various criteria and reasons why they would pick one product over another. These are the pieces of information that buyers will be bringing to the sales call already. So salespeople can't take steps backwards, run them through role plays so that they're continuing along and using, handling statements like, we've narrowed down our list to you and other suppliers. Help me decide why you're the best, as opposed to, we're just starting to explore solutions. Tell me what's best for my particular needs. They've already done that research. So you need to be able to walk them through that validation process. Next, you need to train your salespeople to earn trust very, very quickly. How? Equip your sales reps with quick proof points of customer results, ROI calculators, case studies. They need to have these items at their fingertips so that they can speak to them when they're on these calls, and they can follow up by sending these items either via video recording that they send to the prospect or just sending them after the call. They need to make sure that they have the tools so that they can prove to that buyer that's already 70% of the way through the decision-making process that they are the best choice based on the results that they were able to produce. So if you can do that, your salespeople will be ready for those discussions. Okay, next, engaging AI-informed buyers. You want to teach your sales reps how to win over those 70% buyers. Like I said before, go through that role playing, coach them on late stage comparisons. Buyers are coming in with side-by-side vendor comparisons, sometimes coming straight from artificial intelligence, from ChatGPT or Gemini. So teach your reps how to lean into those conversations instead of avoiding them. Shift those sales scripts towards validation. Those traditional scripts open with broad discovery questions. You want to flip it and start with statements like, I understand you've already done some research. Let's make sure you have everything you need to make the best possible decision. If you do that, that will help you build your credibility and move the conversation forward. So a quick win for this, if you can do just one thing from this slide, take one of your existing call scripts that your salespeople are using and rewrite it, assuming that the buyer is 70% of the way down the decision-making path. They've already done their research. What would the sales script look like if you're talking to that educated buyer? That one adjustment will change the tone of your calls and instantly build more trust. So once your reps can engage these buyers with that new language, the next challenge is to shifting your discovery process into more of a validation, like I mentioned before. So let's talk about that next. Okay, as I mentioned before, discovery calls are dead and they just can't be handled the way that they have been in the past. So you need to flip these over to validations calls. How do you do it? Well, like I said, assume the buyer is 70% of the way towards that decision. And then start with validation. Instead of opening with, tell me what you're looking for, shift that to something like, let's confirm what you've researched already and make sure it's the right fit. So asking that question in that way will give you an understanding of, did they do their research or are they cold? If they're cold, use the old script. But what I'm seeing more and more these days is that people are coming to those calls fully researched, and then they love that type of question because they can engage right at that 70% point. They can engage at the point where I've already done my research, this is what I'm thinking, and the salesperson can help guide them along the way so that they can choose that particular, choose your company as the best solution. You want to use your questions to validate, not uncover needs. So again, it's not a discovery discussion. A quick win. Take one of your existing discovery call scripts and rewrite it, assuming the buyer is already 70% of the way there. And then go through the process of role playing with your colleagues to practice that type of conversation. You'll find that there's a different cadence, there's different questions, and there's a different approach. You are speaking with an informed colleague, not a fresh buyer that is unaware of what the possible options are. You're having a colleague-to-colleague professional discussion. The more professional, the more transparent, and more honest you are during those discussions, the more successful you will be. Okay, next, you need to earn their trust fast. Buyers decide within minutes. So when they're 70% of the way decided, they're not evaluating options for scraps, they're validating that last thing. Do they have confidence in choosing you? And they'll do that almost immediately. So you really need to build trust just within the first couple of minutes of the call. Use quick proof points. Bring out those credibility markers right from the start. It could be a statistic. It could be a customer story. It could be a return on investment story that you were able to produce for another company very similar to those. You don't have a full sales discussion, a full 30-minute call to earn their trust. You need to do it right from the outset, right from the first couple of minutes. A quick win is add a trust anchor to the first couple minutes of every call. As I mentioned, trust anchors are statistics, a customer story, an ROI benchmark, something that instantly communicates that you produce great results and you're proving it and you're showing that you're credible. Okay, now AI sales enablement. This is all about making sure that your sales team, now that they know this new way of selling, they have the right tools, content, and workflows to win over these late stage deals and leveraging that validation process. So this isn't traditional sales enablement that you're used to. Like I said before, and I've said a number of times, buyers are walking in pre-educated. So your materials, your sales materials that you're using, the tech stack that your salespeople are working with, they need to be built for validation, not discovery. So on the next few slides, I'm going to show you how you can align your content for these late stage buyers. Equip your reps with AI-informed tools. Make sure your CRM and your tech stack support this new reality, and how you can create materials that validate what buyers already know instead of starting from scratch and positioning your company as the obvious choice. Okay, so aligning sales and marketing content. Your content is not going to be the first thing that the buyer sees if they are an AI-informed buyer. So you need to make sure that you're building content that matches the questions that buyers will ask most when they're about ready to choose. So we're trying to write content, our sales material, for those late stage buyers. So they need to learn from your content why to choose you over competitors, why to choose this product over the other options. What are the risks of going with you, and how can you overcome that hesitation? That's the type of content that you need to use. Include side-by-side comparisons of products or competitors for context. AI is doing that research anyway, so you might as well couch it and frame it positioning your company the best, because if you don't provide it, you're going to leave rooms for your competitors to basically educate AI and fill those gaps and not position you as best as you could be. So use decision stage case studies as great content that you're going to show. Other proof points, testimonials that will show results, ROI, and risk mitigation. So a quick win here is take a look at your sales presentations, take a look at your sales decks, and update it with the assumption that, again, the buyer is 70% of the way down the path. Take a look at what you're presenting. Is it early stage educational content that's in there? Get rid of it. Cut that type of information and start leading with late stage information, the comparison value, the company customer proof, that type of information, so that you will be positioned well for that late stage buyer. Okay, AI-informed buyers, they're walking into sales conversation knowing who your competitors are, what the pricing ranges are, what others are saying about you online. And if your reps don't have the same type of intelligence when they're going into the call, you're starting at a disadvantage. So what you want to do is equip your sales team with AI-informed conversation tools. This could be as simple as pulling AI-generated buyer insights before a call, so that they are preparing before that call with some great information on the buyer. So salespeople should go to AI themselves and see what they can learn about the buyer before they have the call. Create sales scripts that specifically address those late stage questions, the side-by-side comparisons. Build the scripts, test the scripts, and make sure your salespeople are trained on how to leverage those scripts. And give them conversation guides that are built for these late stage buyers. So quick win, like I mentioned, go to AI before your next sales call and ask AI to summarize what it finds about the prospect that you're trying to speak with. And then go to AI and look up your company and find out what it says about your company versus your competitors for that buyer's particular industry or the product that they're looking for. Even one insight that you gain from that research that you can use in your sales conversation will help you have more of a productive, transparent, and results-focused conversation that will lead that prospect towards choosing your company. So make sure your salespeople are leveraging the right tools that they can use to work with that late stage buyer. Okay, validate research, don't repeat it. As I mentioned, you need to engage buyers by confirming their AI research and then add value on top of it to validate their decision. Don't rehash what they already know. Instead of asking them basic discovery questions, start with what they already know and build on it. When you hear what AI told them, when you ask them about what have you researched or where are you in the decision-making process, confirm the parts that are right to add depth, and then correct them very politely if you need to point them in a different direction. If you do this, and you do this in an honest and very genuine fashion, it will show your value without sounding like a sales script. And if you catch any gaps or misconceptions, that's true gold, because that gives you the ability to jump back into your proven sales pitch to show why your company is the right choice, bring your insights into the discussion, show the prospect that their thinking needs to be shifted a little bit. That's how you're really going to earn trust and show that you are a trusted advisor. You know more than AI did in that particular case, and you're pointing that prospect towards the best solution. So, like I said earlier, the quick win here is to, before you get into anything in your sales discussion, make the first question, so what have you researched so far? That way you know what they've done. You can even ask if they used AI. The more you know about the research that they performed, the better you will be to continue that sales conversation towards the ultimate sale. Okay, so that is the three-part framework that I want you to implement so that you can start having productive sales conversations with the AI-informed buyer. So this is the part where I want you to turn these insights and turn them into action. Up until now, I've been unpacking what's changed, why it matters, what needs to shift, and the framework. So let's talk now about what you can do over the next 30 days to begin this sales transformation so that you can start selling in the way that is most productive with the AI-informed buyer. Okay, week number one, what I want you to do is go through a sales process audit. So before you change anything, you need to know what buyers are actually seeing, how AI is presenting you in the research. You need to do a little bit of sort of checking before you start modifying too much. So test AI as the first step. Open up ChatGPT, Claude, or Perplexity. And if you do not have a paid subscription to one of these tools, ChatGPT, Claude, or Perplexity, you can get a paid tool for $20 a month. It is going to be the best investment that you made. Make that investment if you haven't already. Open up these tools and start asking the exact questions that you think buyers may ask. Who are the best suppliers in your category? What should I look for in a vendor? This will show you exactly what your prospects, what your buyers are seeing when they're doing exactly this type of research. So it'll let you know exactly where you stand. Next, take a look at your sales materials and audit those materials. Are they written for buyers who know nothing? Are they just for early stage people? Or do you also have materials that are for those AI-informed buyers that have already done their research and are 70% of the way there? Next, survey prospects. Ask every new or recent prospect a simple question. Which tools or resources did you use before contacting us to perform this research? So in addition to finding out what they've learned, figure out how they've done it. You'll be amazed how many people mention AI when you pose that question. And if you needed a kick in the butt to really embrace this information, asking that question will give you that insight. You'll find that more and more buyers that you wouldn't think are going to AI really are. And the more that you know about that, the better position you'll be in to compete. Next, track those AI-informed buyers. In your CRM, start tagging them as AI-informed buyers so that you'll know this prospect, they've done their research before they reached out to us. And over the next 30 days, as you start to tag these buyers, you'll start to see patterns. And see, are they converting faster? I think you'll find that they are. Those informed buyers that are now reaching out to you, they've already decided to a large degree, you're one of the main companies they're considering. So the opportunity for you to close them is even higher. So I think you'll find that those AI-informed buyers are pure gold if you know how to deal with them properly. So this first week, it's about uncovering the reality that you need to deal with. And once you know where you are, we can focus on the second week, which is getting your sales team prepared. First, you need to train your sales reps to engage buyers who have done this research. Like I said earlier, role play scenarios where the buyer says, we've narrowed it down to you and one other supplier, and teach your reps to lean into those calls with confidence, not with generic discovery questions, to help those buyers through the validation process. Validate that their decision to call you was the best call they made that day because you have the best solution for them. Next, you want to make sure that you're updating the questions that the sales team has at their fingertips. So update those scripts, update the questions that they can ask. Instead of asking, what are you looking for? Ask, based on what you've researched so far, what questions are still open? What questions are still top of mind? How can I help you most? This will shift it from that discovery call to a true consultative validation call that will position you as an expert. You need to develop trust fast with those pre-qualified prospects. So you need to make sure that you're equipping your sales team with those quick proof points, case studies that they can send quickly, some quick stories that they can share of success that other similar companies have had. You need to make sure that your salespeople have those proof points at their fingertips and can use them as necessary. And then finally, create frameworks that help buyers compare multiple suppliers. As I mentioned before, buyers are going to AI and they're asking, can you compare this supplier versus another one? You need to go through that exercise yourselves so that your salespeople have those comparisons right in front of them and they know how to couch those comparisons. They know how to position your company as the best option. They know how to properly address a potential weakness that a buyer may see in your criteria that may bubble up. The more prepared they are to respond to what that AI educated buyer already found on their own, the more successful they will be in that discussion. Okay, next is AI sales optimization. So here, what we want to do is put your AI-ready sales process into action and start measuring the results. So optimize your digital presence so that AI recommends you. I mentioned before, AI visibility is essential. If you don't have AI visibility, you will get nowhere in this new environment, new sales environment, which is why I devoted an entire masterclass to AI visibility last month. Optimize your digital presence so that AI will be recommending you when your buyers are performing those searches. You want to make sure that you're creating content that highlights your unique sales advantage, because you want AI to latch on to this information. When they're showing the buyer their recommendations, you want to influence those recommendations as much as possible. How do you do that? With your proof points, your case studies, your differentiators, your results. These must be clear in the information that you're creating and you're publishing online so that AI can easily parse this information and then show it to buyers when they're performing that research. Third, you want to make sure that you're testing your AI supplier list regularly to see how you show up against the competition. So on a regular basis, perform those same types of searches on AI, asking them questions so that they can compare your company to possible solutions, see the information that's out there. You want to make sure that as AI is evolving and as new information is showing up, that you have the ability to control it. So you need to make sure that you're constantly taking a look at what AI is showing for those key questions that your customers may be asking. And then finally, align your sales material with the AI best practices that I talked about. So audit your sales materials, audit your scripts, and rewrite them so that they are written in to effectively serve the AI-informed buyer. So write it through that lens. And then finally, this is where everything comes together through process integration. So you want to launch your updated AI-ready sales process. So take that first step in the 4th week. This is going to be an evolution. This is not a quick fix that's going to be handled in 30 days, but I want to make sure that you take those first steps, those critical first steps in that 30 days, so that in week 4, you can launch it. This is where you flip the switch. Take all the changes you've built, all the updated scripts, the discovery questions, the new validation questions, the enablement tools, roll them out for that new AI-ready sales process. Make sure that you're tracking those AI-informed buyer conversations in your CRM. As I mentioned before, tag them in your CRM so that you can see how are the close rates differing? How are the sales conversations different when I'm speaking with a prospect that's brand new to this discussion and is going through that discovery phase versus the growing AI-informed buyer that already is educated. Next, you want to make sure that you're creating a feedback loop between sales, marketing, and leadership so that you can evaluate sales results, you can evaluate the AI insights, and you can make modifications as necessary. So every deal, won or lost, should feed back into this strategy. So you want to meet and say, okay, this is a scenario. They were informed. We won it. These are the key reasons that I think that we won this discussion. We lost this deal, and this is why. It's because we were showing up in AI this way. So the more that you know about the entire process, the research that buyers are performing, the way your salespeople are interacting with that AI-informed buyer, as well as the results that you're producing, and you use that information to enhance the overall process, every element of it, you will be more successful. And then make sure that you're looking at your AI recommendations on a regular basis to see how you're bubbling up. AI models right now, there's an arms race that's going on. All the major AI players are competing against each other to become the dominant platform. So the AI models are changing on a daily basis. So the results you saw yesterday could be very different from the results you see today. So make sure that you are testing these recommendations on a regular basis. Okay, so that is the AI sales framework and the next steps that I want you to take over the next 30 days. Before I dig into the Q&A, I want to offer a resource that will help you deal with that critical area of AI visibility. It's the Industrial Marketer's AI Visibility Playbook that I created, which is a roadmap that will guide you through the tasks that are necessary to create content that will bubble up in AI, templates that you can use to uncover the big 5 customer questions that your buyers are asking, the AI prompts that you can use to speed up this process. You can download it right now using the QR code or the link that's on the side there, on the slide right there. If you're interested in talking about how you can create an AI-enabled marketing and sales strategy for your organization, schedule a strategy call. I love talking about this stuff. I'd love to guide you in the right direction. And without any further ado, let's get to your questions. A bunch of them have come in. If you haven't submitted your questions and you have one, please feel free to do so in the Q&A box. And let's dig into what we already have. Okay. Okay, we're a small sales team. Can we realistically do this? I hear this all the time. And what I found is that if your sales team is on the smaller side, you're actually have an advantage because there isn't that much inertia that you're going to face. It's just a handful of people that you need to first help them see the light, and hopefully this presentation will help them do that. You can show them a recording of it, and then you can help them take those next steps. That 30-day plan that I talked about, if you walk through those steps week to week, your small sales team will be far ahead of competitors that are doing nothing right now. Okay, next. What if our buyers aren't using AI tools already? Okay, that's a great question because I think that if you think your buyers are not using AI tools, this is going to be an insightful step for you to take. As I mentioned before, asking prospects at the beginning of a sales conversation, what have you learned so far? What research have you done so far? And then following that up with, how did you learn that? You'll find that AI or ChatGPT or one of the other models is coming up more and more. So you may think that your buyers aren't using these AI tools. Ask them, you'll start to see that they are. And I strongly recommend that you take the necessary steps so that you can get in front of this before your competitors do. Okay, next, how do we measure if buyers are AI informed? Well, that gets back to what I just talked about. If the buyer is asked the question early on, what have you done? What research have you done? And they mentioned AI as a tool that they've used, you'll know. But if they have a lot of very, very well-researched answers to questions, when you say, what did you learn about so far? Most likely they've gone to AI because they have done that research and it's been distilled very nicely for them. So you want to make sure that you have that understanding when you're having those discussions. What's the biggest mistake sales teams make when they are dealing with AI-informed buyers? Well, the biggest mistake is they're treating them like early-stage prospects. They are basically killing the sales discussion by having a discovery call. Again, if we have determined that the buyer's done their own research by asking the right question at the beginning, then we need to quickly pivot over to our validation script, to our validation tools, as opposed to relying on our discovery tools. So that's the biggest mistake that you can make, is by treating the buyer like someone they're not. And they'll find it insulting, they'll find it a waste of their time, and you're going to be starting out this discussion 2 strikes against you. Okay, finally, what if our industry is slow to change? I hear this all the time, and I've been working with industrial companies for 30 years, and I've been hearing this since the birth of the internet. Oh, industrial buyers are different. They don't go online. They don't do this. They don't do that. Well, the reality is they do. They may be slower to change and slower to adopt it, but they do leverage these tools. And I would say that if you're going to stand on the sideline because you think that your industry is slow to change, you're making a mistake. This is your opportunity to take those next steps so that you can be out far ahead of your competition when your buyers are turning to AI to perform that early stage research. So even though your industry may be slow to change, don't sit on the sidelines. Take these next steps that I have detailed so that you can be well positioned to succeed in this new environment of the AI educated buyer. Well, thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for your questions. If you would like to have a deeper discussion with me personally, please feel free to schedule a strategy call. If not, I will see you on next month's masterclass. Thank you very much.